Admiral Zex Terril's four-fingered hand trembled as he closed the holographic casualty report. 37 ships lost, 12,000 Vulpexi soldiers dead, and the mining operations on Nexus 7, critical to the Imperium's war machine, had ground to a halt. The rebellion was no longer just an annoyance. It had become an existential threat. The High Council demands your presence, Admiral, his adjutant announced, mandibles clicking nervously. They're discussing your replacement. Replacement, a polite term for execution. Vulpexi did not tolerate failure. As the adjutant departed, Zex Terrill activated a private terminal. He'd intercepted transmissions from an uncharted system at the galaxy's edge, a species called humans. Their planet was primitive by Vulpexi standards, but their conflicts were spectacular in their brutality and innovation. For weeks, he'd been studying Earth's wars, both fascinated and disturbed by what he witnessed. "Computer, show me the human combat compilation again," he ordered. The display flickered to life with images of Earth battles, soldiers fighting house to house in devastated cities, adapting instantly to changing threats, continuing to fight despite grievous injuries. Unlike Vulpexi hierarchical combat units that collapsed when leaders fell, these humans seemed to function with distributed command, any soldier capable of taking charge when needed. The door hissed open. Senior geneticist Mulveret entered, her ceremonial robes marking her as a High Council observer. "Watching your obsession again, Admiral?" she asked, mandibles forming what passed for a Vulpexi smile. "The Council classifies them as an extinction-level threat, you know. Too dangerous to contact. Or exactly dangerous enough to save us," Zex Terrill replied. Commander Sarah Chen stared at the credit figure on the contract, certain there'd been a mistake. "This can't be right," she told the alien recruiter. "That's more than most people earn in a lifetime." The slender, insect-like creature adjusted its translator. "The Vulpexi Imperium values skilled warriors, Commander. Your Earth conflicts have proven your species particularly adaptable." Chen glanced around the dingy bar where they'd arranged this meeting. 5 years after her final deployment, the post-war economy had left her and her former squad struggling. Taylor working security at a shopping mall, Rodriguez driving delivery drones, Willis battling PTSD in a system that had forgotten him. "Why us?" she asked. "You must have your own soldiers." "We require specialists for unconventional threats," the recruiter answered carefully. "The contract is for 1 Earth year. Transportation, equipment, medical care all provided." Chen studied the alien's body language, recognizing the desperation beneath its composure. They weren't just hiring help. They were drowning. "I need to bring my own team." 12 days later, Chen and 26 former special operators arrived at the Vulpexi forward base on Nexus 7's largest moon. The reception was frigid. Vulpexi officers chittered mockingly as the humans struggled with the lower gravity, their exoskeletons gleaming under harsh artificial light. "These are the Sagers Admiral Zex Terrill procured." Colonel Vex Harrow sneered. Soft-skinned mammals barely evolved past their planet's primates. Chen ignored the insults as her team was assigned to cramped quarters originally designed for Vulpexi maintenance drones. The aliens clearly considered them expendable assets, cannon fodder for whatever was happening on the planet below. At 300 hours, emergency alarms shattered the artificial night. The base shuddered under impact. "Rebel attack." Voices shouted in the corridor. "They've breached the southern quadrant." Chen was fully armed before the second alarm sounded, her squad assembling with practiced efficiency. They emerged into chaos, Vulpexi officers barking contradictory orders as explosions rocked the command center. "Secure that entry point," Chen ordered Willis and Taylor, her voice cutting through the panic. "Rodriguez, get me base schematics. Rest of you, defensive perimeter." Colonel Vex Harrow approached, mandibles twitching with indignation. "You will await prober." The wall behind him erupted in flame. Chen tackled the officer as humanoid figures emerged through the smoke, weapons blazing. Her first 3 shots dropped attackers before they cleared the breach. For 40 minutes, the humans held the command center against waves of insurgents, while Vulpexi reinforcements struggled to organize. When it ended, 19 rebels lay dead, with no human casualties. In the aftermath, Chen noticed something odd. The base's security AI had recorded the entire engagement, with particular focus on human combat methods. And the Vulpexi officers were no longer mockingly chittering. They were silent, mandibles drawn tight against their faces in what Chen would later learn was the Vulpexi expression of fear. "Split them up," Admiral Zex Turil ordered, studying holographic deployment maps of Nexus 7's northern continent. "I want human advisors with every forward battalion." Colonel Vex Harrow's mandibles clicked in protest. "These mercenaries have no understanding of Vulpexi battle doctrine. They'll compromise unit cohesion and—" "Our doctrine has failed for 16 consecutive engagements," Zex Turil interrupted. "The rebels adapt while we repeat strategies. These humans," he gestured to footage of Chen's squad repelling the command center attack, "improvise in ways our military academies don't teach." Within 24 hours, Chen's squad deployed across 6 battle zones. Sergeant Willis found himself attached to the 103rd Exoskeleton Battalion, an elite unit sent to secure a strategic mining complex. "Stay behind our formation, human," Commander Tezcor instructed as they prepared to move out. "Your primary function is observation and subsequent analysis." Willis nodded respectfully while checking his modified pulse rifle. The Vulpexi equipment was impressive but oddly specialized, perfect for their planned engagement scenarios, useless when circumstances changed. The 103rd moved with precision through dense alien foliage, their chitin armor glistening under Nexus 7's blue-tinted sunlight. Willis noted their perfect formation, every soldier precisely distanced from the next, and all presenting identical target profiles. "Commander," Willis suggested quietly, "your troops might consider varying their spacing and—" "Silence," Tezcor hissed. We approached the designated engagement zone. The ambush struck with devastating efficiency, not from the expected ridge but from beneath them. The forest floor collapsed into pre-dug tunnels as creatures erupted from concealed burrows, not the humanoid rebels Willis expected, but 8-limbed predators with bioengineered weapons symbiotes fused to their bodies. The 103rd's perfect formation became its undoing. The creatures targeted officers first, then communication specialists. Within minutes, 37 Vulpexi soldiers lay dead or dying, their disciplined response collapsing into disorganized panic. Willis dragged Commander Tezcor behind a fallen tree as the officer leaked greenish fluid from multiple wounds. "Not savages," Tezcor gasped. "Told us primitives with stolen weapons." "Save your strength," Willis replied, administering emergency biologics from his kit. But the commander was already dead, compound eyes fixed on the alien sky. Alone and hunted, Willis moved south through increasingly sophisticated territory. The primitive rebel camps described in mission briefings were nowhere to be seen. Instead, he passed abandoned settlements with advanced architecture and energy infrastructure, signs of a civilization far more developed than the Vulpexi had claimed. Meanwhile, on the Eastern Front, Chen fought battles on 2 fronts, against rebels and Vulpexi military politics. Her tactical advice to protect vulnerable supply chains was repeatedly ignored by prideful officers. "The rebels cannot possibly know our quantum-encrypted schedules," Captain Vesmalog dismissed during planning. 8 hours later, Chen pulled the captain from burning transport wreckage after rebels hit exactly when and where she predicted. Admiral Zex Turil summoned her to his command ship after the 3rd such incident. "Your combat performance metrics exceed all other units," he said without preamble. "Survival rates triple where humans advise." Chen noted the admiral's private quarters were filled with historical texts and tactical analyses from various worlds. One display showed Earth's military history, from Roman legions to modern special forces. "You're being promoted," Zex Tyrell continued. You'll now advise sector commanders directly. With respect, Admiral, my advice is consistently ignored until after disasters prove it correct. The Admiral's inner eyelids flickered, a Vulpexi sign of concern. My species faces extinction, Commander Chen. From these rebels? No, from what the rebels merely foreshadow. He activated a secure display. We fought a shadow war for centuries against an enemy whose name our religious texts forbid speaking. They've destroyed 17 of our core worlds. Images showed devastation on scales Chen struggled to comprehend. Planets with continents reduced to molten glass. We came to Nexus 7 seeking resources to continue our defense. Zex Tyrell continued. But something about this world's inhabitants, their resistance patterns match our ancient enemy's tactics. He fixed his compound eyes on Chen. This is why we sought your species. Humans fight unlike any documented civilization. You may be the weapon we've sought for generations. Chen studied the Admiral carefully. You're not telling me everything. No, Zex Tyrell admitted. But I've told you more than any other non-Vulpexi alive. The question is whether you'll help us survive, or merely collect your payment and watch us fall. The terminal behind them beeped urgently. Emergency transmission from Northern Sector. An aide announced. Sergeant Willis has returned, sole survivor of the 103rd Battalion. He brings disturbing evidence about the rebels. Chen studied Willis's gaunt face on the briefing room display. 5 days in hostile territory had left him haggard, eyes haunted by what he'd witnessed. They're not rebels, he reported, his voice steady despite his exhaustion. They're technology. It's beyond anything in our briefings. Beyond the Vulpexi in some areas. Admiral Zex Tyrell's mandibles twitched slightly, the only indication of his discomfort as Willis's testimony continued. I want a direct reconnaissance, Chen declared after the briefing. My team, my rules of engagement. Out of the question. Colonel Vex Harrow objected. After the 103rd's decimation. The 103rd failed because they didn't adapt, Chen interrupted. We will. 12 hours later, her squad dropped into a canyon network 50 kilometers from a suspected rebel command post. The mission: capture communications equipment and intelligence materials on rebel capabilities. Rodriguez, their tech specialist, carried modified scanning equipment. Getting strange energy signatures, he muttered as they approached a camouflaged entrance. This isn't consistent with anything in Vulpexi databases. The command post was actually an entrance to a vast subterranean complex. Bypassing security systems using techniques Willis had observed during his survival trek, they penetrated 3 levels deep before encountering resistance. But the defenders weren't using the bioweapons that slaughtered the 103rd. Instead, they deployed non-lethal sonic disruptors. They're trying to capture, not kill, Taylor observed after they neutralized the security team. In a central data hub, Rodriguez accessed local networks while Chen and Willis secured the perimeter. Commander, Rodriguez called, his voice strained. You need to see this. The displays showed thousands of stasis pods stretching through enormous chambers. Each contained a sleeping childlike being, smaller versions of the planet's inhabitants. They're harvesting them, Rodriguez explained, scrolling through translated data, extracting some compound that grants extended lifespans. The Vulpexi aren't mining minerals here. They're mining people. Chen felt ice in her veins. Keep going. Rodriguez continued accessing files, his expression growing darker. These aren't rebels. They're Nexians, the original inhabitants. They had achieved space travel centuries before the Vulpexi arrived. The Imperium presented itself as an ally, then began resource extraction operations. The Admiral mentioned an enemy, Willis said. Something they fought for generations. Found something on that too, Rodriguez replied. It's not what we think. The Vulpexi created that narrative to justify their actions. They discovered the youth-preserving compound on Nexus 7 3 centuries ago. They've been manufacturing conflicts to harvest it ever since. A new file appeared. A Volpexi military assessment of humanity. They've done this before, Rodriguez whispered. We're not the first mercenaries they've hired. There's a pattern. Find resource-poor species willing to fight, deploy them against rebels, abandon them when operations go wrong. The final document froze Chen's blood. Genetic harvesting protocols for Earth specimens. We're not just hired guns, Willis realized. We're lab rats. They're studying us for something bigger. An alarm blared through the facility. Perimeter breach, Taylor called from her position. Multiple hostiles incoming. Download everything. Chen ordered Rodriguez. We're leaving. With a guest. They captured a Nexian scientist during their extraction. Dr. Calera initially fought their restraints, then grew curious as Chen explained what they'd discovered. You truly didn't know? The alien asked, compound eyes studying Chen's face. Your species agreed to this without understanding. We were told we were suppressing violent insurgents, Chen replied, not helping genocide innocent civilians. Calera's delicate antennae quivered. The Volpexi are parasites. They arrive as saviors, then extract what they need until nothing remains. Why harvest children? Willis demanded. Our young produce a neural compound that deteriorates with age. Calera explained. It grants Volpexi extended lifespans, enhanced cognitive function. Without it, they age rapidly. And humans? Chen asked. Why recruit us specifically? Calera's eyes widened. You haven't guessed. Your species possesses a unique genetic marker, one that could enhance their longevity treatments exponentially. They've been sampling your DNA since you arrived. The scientists gestured to their Volpexi-issued equipment. Everything you touch, eat, wear. It's all designed to collect biological data. Back at the Volpexi forward base, Chen confronted their handler, Commander Voss. Routine reconnaissance successful, she reported, revealing nothing of what they'd discovered. Requesting permission to deploy additional teams to Sector 7. Voss studied her carefully. Permission granted. Admiral Zex Tyrell is most pleased with your performance, Commander. As Chen turned to leave, Voss added, we intercepted unusual communications from your position. A data transfer to an unknown receiver. Chen maintained her composure. Probably Rodriguez testing captured rebel equipment. I'll discipline him. See that you do, Voss replied, his compound eyes never leaving her face. Operational security is paramount with such valuable assets as your team. That night, Chen gathered her squad in a maintenance tunnel they'd confirmed was free of surveillance. We warn the others, and leave at dawn, she whispered. The Volpexi aren't just exploiting this planet. They're planning to exploit us too. To where? Taylor asked. We're light years from Earth. Chen's expression hardened. We find the Nexian resistance. The real one, not the monsters the Volpexi invented for their cover story. They'll hunt us, Willis warned. Let them, Chen replied. They wanted to see how humans fight. It's time we showed them. Chen's encoded warning reached only half their deployed squads before Volpexi cybersecurity detected the unusual communication patterns. In his command center, Admiral Zex Tyrell reviewed the intercepted fragments, mandibles clicking in agitation. Initiate Operation Harvest, he ordered. All human assets are to be secured immediately. Use non-lethal methods where possible. Their genetic material must remain viable. Across Nexus 7, Volpexi strike teams descended on human positions. 8 squads were captured in their sleep, sedated and transferred to medical frigates. 7 others, alerted by Chen's partial warning, scattered into the wilderness, pursued by Volpexi hunting parties. Chen's team, along with Dr. Calera, moved through dense fungal forests as dawn broke over the horizon. They'd disabled their Volpexi equipment, removing tracking devices and communication implants. There's a research outpost 12 kilometers south, Calera informed them. My colleagues there have connections to the resistance. As they crested a ridge, Willis raised his hand for halt. Below them in a shallow valley, Volpexi troops were deploying cylindrical devices around a Nexian settlement. Atmospheric processors. Rodriguez guessed, studying them through binoculars. Calera's antennae flattened against her head. Neurotoxin dispensers. They're going to gas the entire village. The settlement contained nearly 1,000 Nexians, families with young children visible in communal areas. The Volpexi troops worked methodically, establishing a perimeter and calibrating their deadly devices. "We can't stop this," Taylor whispered. "There are at least 60 troops down there." Chen watched a Nexian child chase a small pet through a garden. "We're not leaving those people to die." "Commander," Willis cautioned, "this isn't our fight." "It became our fight when they lied to us," Chen replied, her voice hardening. "When they made us complicit in genocide." She turned to Rodriguez. "Can you hijack those dispensers?" "Not remotely, but if I can reach the control unit." "That's suicide," Taylor objected. "Not with proper distraction," Chen countered, formulating a plan. "Willis, those ridge formations provide sniper positions. Taylor, your demolition charges on the Eastern Equipment Depot. Rodriguez, we'll get you to that control unit." Calera stared at them in bewilderment. "You would risk your lives for strangers." "For my people. We've been on the wrong side of this war," Chen replied simply. "Time to correct that." The operation was brutally efficient. Willis's precision fire from multiple pre-planned positions created the illusion of several attackers. Taylor's explosives destroyed the Volpexi's heavy weapons just as they attempted to respond. In the chaos, Chen and Rodriguez sprinted toward the central control unit. They were 50 meters out when a Volpexi officer spotted them. He raised his weapon, firing a barrage that caught Rodriguez in the shoulder. Chen eliminated the threat, then dragged her wounded teammate to the control panel. "I need 2 minutes," Rodriguez gasped, fingers flying across the alien interface despite his injury. "You've got 30 seconds," Chen replied, engaging 3 approaching Volpexi soldiers. When the dispensers activated, they released harmless vapor instead of neurotoxin. As Volpexi commanders frantically tried to determine the malfunction, the Nexian villagers, warned by Calera through their local communication network, launched their own counterattack. The resulting battle was brief but vicious. The Volpexi, caught between human precision strikes and Nexian defenders, retreated in disarray, leaving their equipment and several wounded behind. Admiral Zex Turil received news of the disaster with cold fury. "Commander Chen has officially committed treason against the Imperium," he announced to his senior staff. "All human forces are now classified as high-value extraction targets. Capture protocols remain in effect. I want them alive." On his private terminal, he reviewed footage of the humans fighting alongside Nexians. Something about their seamless coordination disturbed him deeply. It reminded him of historical records from the Volpexi's greatest defeat centuries ago, before they discovered the longevity treatments that had sustained their empire. "Divert the Third Fleet to Nexus 7, he ordered. "This situation is now our highest priority." In the aftermath of the battle, Chen's team found themselves surrounded by grateful but suspicious Nexians. Calera spoke rapidly in their clicking language, explaining the humans' intervention. A tall Nexian with battle-scarred exoskeleton approached Chen. "I am Vorthal, defense coordinator for this region. You wear Volpexi equipment but fight against them. Explain." "We were deceived," Chen replied honestly. "Hired to fight rebels who we now know are the rightful inhabitants defending their homes. We've chosen to stand with you instead." Vorthal's compound eyes studied her intently. "My family was processed 3 cycles ago. My offspring extracted for Volpexi elixirs. Why should I trust any off-worlder?" Before Chen could answer, her tactical display, modified to avoid Volpexi tracking, showed multiple atmospheric entries. "Orbital deployments," she warned. "Massive troop movements incoming." Vorthal chittered commands to his warriors. The human's warning appears genuine. Evacuation protocols initiated. As the village mobilized with practiced efficiency, Shen received a fragmented transmission from Lieutenant Rodriguez. leader of one of the squads that had escaped the initial capture. Crash landed in Sector 9. Resistance faction holding us. Different group. Doesn't trust. Execution imminent. Chen turned to Vorthal. There are more humans being held by another resistance group. We need to reach them before they're killed. The Highland Clutch. Vorthal clicked in recognition. They trust no offworlders since the massacres. They will execute your people at dawn. Then we move now, Chen replied, checking her weapon. Those are my soldiers. Vorthal's mandibles opened in what Chen recognized as the Nexian equivalent of a grim smile. You would risk the safety of your current group for those you haven't seen. Every time, Chen answered without hesitation. Perhaps, Vorthal clicked thoughtfully. There is more separating humans from Vulpexi than biology alone. As they prepared to move out, Clara approached Chen. The Vulpexi will hunt you relentlessly now. You've shown them something they've never seen before. What's that? A species that values principle over survival, the scientist replied. They cannot comprehend why you would jeopardize your lives for strangers. It terrifies them more than your weapons ever could. The Highland Clutch's stronghold was carved into a massive mesa, accessible only by narrow switchback trails easily defended by snipers. Chen's team and Vorthal's warriors approached under cover of Nexus 7's frequent electrical storms, using the atmospheric interference to mask their heat signatures. They will shoot without warning, Vorthal cautioned as they neared the first checkpoint. No, Chen replied, studying the defensive positions through thermal imaging. They'll warn once to establish superiority, then shoot. As if on cue, a voice boomed from concealed speakers. Halt or be eliminated. Chen raised her hand slowly. I am Commander Sarah Chen, Earth Defense Forces. You're holding my soldiers. I've come to negotiate their release. Silence followed then. Approach alone. Unarmed. Classic power play. Chen murmured to Willis. If I'm not back in 20 minutes, implement contingency delta. The Highland Clutch's leader, a massive Nexian with cybernetic enhancements replacing 2 of his limbs, towered over Chen in a chamber illuminated by bioluminescent fungi. I am Kivarezel, he announced. Your soldiers claim you've betrayed the Vulpexi. Why should we believe this isn't an elaborate trap? Before Chen could answer, an alarm echoed through the chamber. A breathless warrior burst in. Vulpexi assault force detected. Multiple dropships approaching. Chen met Kivarezel's suspicious gaze. If I were still working for them, would they be attacking now? The battle that followed cemented the unlikely alliance. Chen's team, reunited with Lieutenant Rodriguez's squad, introduced Earth combat tactics that transformed the Nexian defense. Where the resistance fighters had previously relied on static positions and overwhelming numbers, the humans taught them asymmetric warfare, mobile strike teams, false flag operations, and psychological tactics that left Vulpexi forces disoriented. Attack patterns Alpha and Delta simultaneously, Chen ordered as they repelled the third Vulpexi wave. Keep them guessing our numbers and positions. By dawn, the shattered remnants of the Vulpexi assault force retreated, leaving behind enough equipment and weaponry to arm 3 Nexian settlements. In the aftermath, Kivarezel approached Chen. Your methods are unorthodox, effective, but unlike any military doctrine I've encountered. Humans had to evolve our tactics, Chen explained. We spent centuries fighting each other before we ever faced external threats. Your experience with self-destruction has become your strength, the Nexian leader observed. Ironic. Over the following weeks, Chen's reorganization of the resistance gained momentum. Human squad leaders established training camps throughout Nexian territory, teaching guerrilla tactics while learning Nexian biology and capabilities. What emerged was a hybrid fighting force that exploited the strengths of both species. Rodriguez led the technical division, adapting captured Vulpexi technology and combining it with Nexian biotech. Willis trained sniper teams that used the planet's unique atmospheric conditions to make shots previously thought impossible. Taylor developed explosive compounds from native fungi that could penetrate Vulpexi armor while minimizing collateral damage. In her makeshift command center, Shen studied captured Vulpexi battle data with Kilara and Vorthal. Their entire military structure depends on hierarchy, she observed. Each unit follows precise orders from above. When leadership is eliminated, they become disorganized. They also fear close combat, Willis added. Their exoskeletons are specialized for their assigned roles. Devastating at range, vulnerable up close. Kilara highlighted sections of the Vulpexi ship schematics. Their vessels have significant radiation shielding weaknesses near propulsion systems, an evolutionary blind spot from their homeworld's unusual magnetic field. Chen formulated a comprehensive strategy exploiting these weaknesses. Small, coordinated resistance cells began striking Vulpexi outposts across the planet, avoiding direct confrontation while targeting officers and communication nodes. Supply lines were disrupted with minimal forces. Psychological operations broadcast doctored communications, suggesting Vulpexi reinforcements were being ambushed. Within 2 months, Admiral Zex Tyrell faced a deteriorating situation unprecedented in Vulpexi military history. The humans have transformed a disorganized insurgency into a cohesive threat, he reported to the High Council. Our casualties increase while our territorial control diminishes daily. The Council's response was unambiguous. Request for reinforcements denied. Complete immediate processing of captured human specimens. Abandon planetary operations and return to core systems. Zex Tyrell stared at the order in disbelief. Abandoning Nexus 7 meant sacrificing their primary source of longevity compounds. Without the treatments, the entire ruling class would begin rapid aging within months. Prepare the processing ships, he ordered his medical officer, and ready the sundering for deployment. His adjutant's mandibles clicked nervously. The sundering, Admiral. The planetary cleaver has been banned by Council Directive 4. I'm aware of the prohibition, Zex Tyrell interrupted, but I will not return to the Council having failed completely. If we cannot have this world, no one will. In the Resistance headquarters, Rodriguez intercepted the encrypted transmission. Commander, he called urgently to Chen. I've decoded a priority Vulpexi communication. They're deploying something called the Sundering and evacuating all their ground forces. Kilara's antennae flattened against her head. The planetary cleaver. It fractures a world's crust, rendering it uninhabitable for generations. Chen's expression hardened. How long do we have? The weapon ship enters orbit in 36 hours, Rodriguez replied. Then we have 35 hours to stop it, Chen declared. She turned to the assembled War Council, humans, and Nexians united by common cause. I need volunteers for a space operation. We're going to board the flagship. Willis raised an eyebrow. The heavily armed, heavily shielded Vulpexi command vessel surrounded by a battle fleet. That's the one, Chen confirmed, a dangerous smile forming. They've studied how humans fight on the ground. Let's show them how we fight in space. It's suicide, Kivrazel stated bluntly. No, Chen replied. It's the Earth approach to impossible odds. We call it audacity. The Nexian stealth craft resembled obsidian teardrops, their bioorganic hulls absorbing, rather than reflecting sensor suites. Originally designed for scientific observation, they'd been modified by Rodriguez's engineering team with Vulpexi weapon components and reinforced shielding. Their detection grid has 3-second intervals, Rodriguez explained during the final briefing. We'll synchronize our approach with their routine communication bursts to mask our signatures. Chen surveyed the assembled strike force, 24 humans and 18 Nexian specialists. Each carried hybrid weapons combining Earth tactics with alien technology. Their armor, derived from Vulpexi exoskeletons, but redesigned for human mobility, would provide limited protection against ship defenses. The sundering weapon requires 17 minutes to charge once in position, Chen reminded them. Our window is extremely narrow. Primary team targets the weapon control center. Secondary team secures the engine room as fallback. Extraction teams will create diversions throughout the vessel. Vorthal's display showed the Vulpexi fleet in high orbit, 17 warships arranged in defensive formation around the flagship. Once we breach their perimeter, we'll have approximately 12 minutes before their adaptive security identifies the intrusion pattern, the Nexian commander noted. Chen nodded. 12 minutes is generous. We're planning for 8. As the teams prepared for launch, Willis approached Chen privately. There's something I haven't told you, something that happened after the 103rd was decimated. He explained how his neural implant, received after a traumatic brain injury during his final Earth deployment, had unexpectedly interfaced with Vulpexi systems during his escape. I can sense their networks, he explained. Not control them, but feel them. Their ship systems will recognize my neural signature. Chen processed this revelation. That makes you both our greatest asset and our greatest vulnerability. If I'm captured, they could use me to track resistance movements. Then we don't get captured, Chen replied simply. Rodriguez needs to know about this. Your ability could be crucial for navigating their security protocols. The infiltration began during the flagship's communication cycle with the planetary surface. 7 stealth craft approached from varying vectors, their trajectories calculated to mimic debris patterns. As Vulpexi sensors swept outward, the craft powered down, drifting on momentum until the detection wave passed, then pulsing forward during the blind spots. Chen's vessel targeted a maintenance airlock near the flagship's weapon systems. The specialized cutting tools required 97 seconds to breach the outer hull, nearly twice the expected time. Adaptive alloys, Calera explained, monitoring the molecular breakdown. They're self-reinforcing against intrusion. When the breach finally occurred, ship alarms remained silent. They'd penetrated the physical barrier without triggering electronic detection, exactly as planned. The first resistance came 3 corridors in, a maintenance crew stumbling upon the intruders. Taylor neutralized them without sound, using a Nexian paralytic compound delivered via compressed air. 15 minutes to weapon activation, Rodriguez reported, consulting his modified Vulpexi tracker. Willis led them through service tunnels, his neural implant providing real-time awareness of security deployments. There's unusual activity in Section 7, he warned. Something's disrupting the standard patrol patterns. They encountered the disruption at a junction leading to the primary weapon control. A squad of elite Vulpexi guards with distinctive crimson exoskeletons. Praetorian Guard, Calera whispered. The Imperium's deadliest soldiers. The ensuing firefight was brutal and efficient. The Praetorians fought with a coordination that surprised even Chen, clearly adapted from studying human combat footage. 3 resistance fighters fell in the initial exchange, their modified armor insufficient against the guards' focused fire. Chen signaled for a tactical shift, implementing the asymmetric protocol they'd developed. Each human Nexian pair attacked from different vectors, never establishing a pattern long enough for the Vulpexi to predict. Taylor deployed smoke canisters laced with compounds that interfered with Vulpexi optical processing. 9 minutes to activation, Rodriguez called as they finally breached the junction, leaving 8 Praetorian bodies behind. The weapon control center was a vast chamber dominated by a crystalline structure pulsing with energy. Admiral Zex Tyrell stood at the central console, surrounded by senior officers and more Praetorian guards. Implementation teams, execute now, Chen ordered through their secure channel. Across the ship, the diversionary squads began their coordinated attacks, targeting critical systems to draw security forces away from the primary objective. The Admiral's mandibles twitched in what might have been amusement as alarms blared throughout the vessel. Right on schedule, Commander Chen. Your tactical predictability is your one flaw. Chen felt ice in her veins as realization struck. He knew we were coming. Of course, Zex Tyrell replied. Your neural implants have been broadcasting your position since you entered range. Did you think we wouldn't study your biology thoroughly? Willis staggered, clutching his head. He's accessing my neural link. Trying to. The ship's lighting shifted to battle configuration as doors sealed throughout the chamber. On tactical displays, Chen watched in horror as Vulpexi security forces converged on their diversionary teams. "You've led your people into my carefully constructed trap," Zex Tyrell continued. "But I'm not ungrateful. Your tactics have proven most educational. The data we've gathered from your combat performance will benefit the Imperium for generations." 5 minutes to weapon activation, a mechanical voice announced. Chen assessed their deteriorating situation with cold precision. Most of their escape routes were now cut off. The secondary team reported heavy resistance near the engine room. Half their diversionary forces were already neutralized. She activated her emergency channel to the Nexian resistance base. Operation compromised. Implement contingency Omega. Vorthal's response came immediately. Acknowledged. Evacuation vessels launching. Turning to her team, Chen made the most difficult decision of her career. Nexian vessels, disengage and retreat immediately. Get as many of our people off-world as possible. Commander, Taylor objected. That leaves us with no extraction. The mission remains the same, Chen replied, her voice steady. Stop that weapon. Save this planet. The rest is secondary. Kilera's compound eyes reflected the pulsing energy of the sundering. Your species continues to confound probability calculations, Commander Chen. That's our specialty, Chen answered, checking her weapons charge. Willis, can you still sense their networks despite the interference? He nodded grimly. Enough to navigate, not enough to control. That'll do. Chen turned to her remaining team. New plan. We fight our way to the secondary target. Rodriguez, you have the engineering package. The tech specialist patted his equipment bag. Ready to overcook their power core whenever you say. If we can't stop the weapon, Chen declared, we take the whole ship with it. Admiral Zexteril's voice came through the ship's communication system. A valiant but futile effort, Commander. I'd lock down all critical systems. Even if you reach the engine room, you lack the authorization to effect it. 3 minutes to weapon activation. Chen signaled her team forward. Let's prove him wrong. As they fought their way through increasingly desperate Vulpexi resistance, something unexpected happened. Several lower-ranking Vulpexi crew members held their fire or actively created openings for the humans to advance. Not all of them support this, Kilera observed as they raced down a service corridor. The Admiral's decision to deploy a banned weapon violates their own ethical codes. The engine room's massive doors were sealed with triple redundancy, but Rodriguez's adaptations of Nexian biotech created microscopic breaches in the locking mechanism. As the humans prepared to squeeze through, Willis suddenly collapsed. They're using the ship's electromagnetic field to amplify the neural intrusion, he gasped. I can feel them, downloading my experiences, my training, everything about human combat doctrine. 2 minutes to weapon activation, the mechanical voice announced as alarms continued to blare throughout the vessel. Chen made her decision. Taylor, get him to the engine room. Rodriguez, prepare the package. This ends now. The engine room pulsed with ethereal blue light, massive fusion reactors powering the Vulpexi flagship. Rodriguez immediately began attaching his makeshift device to the primary control node, while Taylor secured the perimeter. Chen supported Willis, whose consciousness flickered as the neural intrusion continued. 90 seconds to weapon activation, the ship's automated system announced. I need 2 minutes, Rodriguez muttered, fingers dancing across the hybrid interface he created. Can't rush antimatter containment protocols. Chen's tactical display showed Vulpexi security forces converging on their position. You've got 60 seconds. A new alarm sounded, different from the security alerts. Kilera's antennae quivered. Boarding alert. Someone else is accessing the ship. Chen checked her scanner. Nexian vessels were ordered to retreat. Whoa! The engine room's secondary doors exploded inward. Through the smoke emerged insectoid figures with iridescent carapaces. The ship shuddered as Willis completed his intervention. On the main display, The Sundering's energy matrix fluctuated wildly before collapsing into dormancy. Weapon system failure, the automated voice announced. Critical targeting error. Deactivation protocols engage. Admiral Zex Terril's voice roared through the communication system. What have you done? Override. Override. Willis smiled grimly. While in their network, I discovered something interesting. Zex Terril has been feeding information to the Nexian resistance for months. That's impossible, Kilera objected. He's orchestrated genocide against my people. Not willingly, Willis replied. The High Council holds his family hostage, but he's been working against them since learning they plan to harvest his own children for rejuvenating compounds. The ruling families have begun cannibalizing each other as supplies dwindle. The ship rocked violently as explosions rippled through distant sections. Shed redemolition teams, their leader explained. We've disabled their communications array. The fleet cannot coordinate. Chen's tactical mind rapidly assessed this new reality. We need to reach the bridge. Take command control. Already in progress, the Shadri replied. Our infiltrators are clearing the path. They fought their way through the flagship's central corridors, the unlikely alliance of humans, Nexians, and Shadri overwhelming Vulpexi resistance through sheer tactical diversity. Each species approached combat differently, creating patterns the Vulpexi defense algorithms couldn't predict. On the bridge, they found Admiral Zex Terril alone, his command staff either dead or fled. Blood-green fluid leaked from wounds in his exoskeleton. Behind him, 3 Shadri assassins stood with bloodied natural weapons. Commander Chen, he wheezed. It seems I underestimated human tenacity yet again. Chen approached cautiously, weapon raised. Your weapon is disabled. Your fleet is cut off. Surrender the ship. The Sundering was never my choice, Zex Terril replied, mandibles clicking weakly. The High Council demanded demonstration of our continued dominance. After ordering you to abandon the planet, Chen noted, why destroy it if you were leaving? Spite, the Admiral answered simply. The elixir supplies are failing. The ruling families have perhaps a decade before rapid aging begins. They would rather see potential sources destroyed than claimed by rivals. A Shadri assassin stepped forward. The Admiral lies. He has always been loyal to. Check his private logs, Willis interrupted. Authorization code Delta 7 Epsilon. You'll find communications with the resistance dating back months. The data appeared on the bridge's main display. Encrypted transmissions, supply route information, security patrol schedules. My family, Zex Terril explained, his compound eyes dimming. My offspring were designated prime harvest material due to genetic markers. I could not. He shuddered violently. Chen recognized the symptoms of neural toxin. You've been poisoned. Standard protocol for failed commanders, the Admiral confirmed. Dead man switch in my neural implant. Activated when the weapon failed. With surprising speed for his wounded state, he pressed his command medallion into Chen's hand. Fleet authorization codes, evacuation protocols, everything you need. His voice dropped to a whisper. My final act of rebellion. As the Admiral's life ebbed away, Chen found herself in effective command of a Vulpexi flagship surrounded by a battle fleet demanding their surrender. What now, Commander? Taylor asked. Chen studied the tactical display showing 23 Vulpexi vessels in attack formation around them. Beyond, on the planet's surface, Nexian evacuation ships struggled to reach orbit while ground forces fought desperately against remaining Vulpexi troops. Now, Chen replied, settling into the command chair, we show them exactly why humans are the most dangerous species they've ever encountered. The Shadri leader's multifaceted eyes gleamed with something resembling respect. The Vulpexi have a term for species that fundamentally alter galactic dynamics upon their emergence. They call them ascendant threats. I prefer the Earth Menace, Willis suggested with a grim smile as he integrated fully with the ship's weapons control. Has a better ring to it. Unidentified operators of flagship inexorable. The Vulpexi Fleet Commander's transmission crackled over the bridge speakers. Return control to authorized personnel immediately or face obliteration. Chen studied the tactical display showing the surrounding Vulpexi vessels shifting into attack formation. Accessing Admiral Zex Turill's command protocols had given them temporary control, but the flagship's damaged systems limited their options. "They're targeting our propulsion systems," Willis reported from the weapons station. "Standard Vulpexi disabling pattern." "Can we break orbit?" Chen asked Rodriguez, who had taken the navigation controls. "Not without exposing our flank to at least 7 cruisers," he replied. "And the Nexian evacuation ships are still vulnerable in low orbit." Chen made her decision. "Kilera, access the Admiral's secure communications array. We're going to broadcast across all frequencies, including civilian channels." The Nexian scientist's fingers danced across the alien interface. "What are we transmitting?" "Everything," Chen replied grimly. "The harvesting operations, the experimentation on humans, the deliberate genocide of the Nexians, the High Council's betrayal of their own people." As Kilera worked, the Shedri leader approached. "This will not stop their attack. The Vulpexi military operates independently from public opinion." "I'm counting on that," Chen answered. "Willis, how deeply can you access their weapon systems?" He smiled darkly. "Deep enough to demonstrate our sincerity." The Vulpexi commander's ultimatum repeated, more strident this time. "Final warning. Return control or..." Chen activated the communication channel. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of Earth. We have seized control of this vessel in response to war crimes against the Nexian people and planned atrocities against our own species." She nodded to Clara, who initiated the data broadcast. Across all channels, evidence of Vulpexi atrocities began streaming. Medical experiments, harvesting facilities, the processing of children for rejuvenation compounds. Most damning were the High Council's internal communications discussing the sustainable cultivation of sentient species. "These transmissions are Imperium classified." The fleet commander sputtered. "Cease immediately or..." "Or what?" Chen interrupted. "You'll destroy us." Demonstrating to every civilization receiving this broadcast exactly how the Vulpexi respond to exposure of their crimes. Willis reported from his station. 2 cruisers breaking formation. Moving to intercept. Target their propulsion only, Chen ordered. "Show them what we can do." Willis, neural interface fully integrated with the flagship's targeting systems, executed the attack with surgical precision. 2 plasma bursts disabled the approaching cruiser's engines without causing catastrophic damage. "Your species was recruited as disposable mercenaries," Chen continued broadcasting. "Instead, you face what the Vulpexi truly fear, a species whose moral courage matches its military capability." The Shadri leader chittered in their native language to one of their technicians, who plugged a crystalline device into the communication array. "We are amplifying your transmission," the Shadri explained. "Our network extends to 17 sectors. Every subjugated world under Vulpexi control is now receiving this evidence." The flagship's sensors detected new energy signatures as additional Vulpexi vessels prepared weapons. "They're going to risk destroying their own flagship," Taylor warned. Chen nodded grimly. "As expected. Rodriguez, emergency protocols. Willis, target their command vessels. Full power." The ensuing battle was brief but devastating. The flagship, despite its damaged systems, possessed firepower superior to any individual vessel in the fleet. Willis's neural interface allowed targeting precision impossible for conventional systems, disabling command ships with minimal collateral damage. Meanwhile, Calera and Rodriguez implemented the emergency protocols, transmitting command authorization codes to the Nexian evacuation vessels, allowing them to bypass Vulpexi security measures and reach safe positions beyond the battle zone. Multiple hyperspace signatures detected, Taylor suddenly announced from the sensor station. "Massive energy profiles, configurations unknown." The bridge crew watched in astonishment as space distorted around them. 12 vessels of unfamiliar design materialized in precise formation, sleek, predatory ships with weaponry unlike anything in Vulpexi records. Earth vessels, Chen breathed in disbelief. But how? A new transmission reached them. This one on an Earth military frequency, Chen recognized. This is Admiral James Harrier of the United Earth Fleet. Commander Chen, your transmission reached us through a quantum relay the Vulpexi foolishly left in our system. Stand by for assistance. The revelation stunned everyone on the bridge. Willis was the first to understand. The recruitment ships, he explained. When the Vulpexi came to hire us, we didn't just send soldiers. Earth Defense studied their technology, reverse engineered it. The Earth vessels engaged with devastating efficiency, displaying combat doctrines the Vulpexi had never encountered. Unlike the rigid formations favored by the Imperium, the Earth ships operated in fluid patterns, constantly adapting to the changing battlefield. Within 30 minutes, the remaining Vulpexi vessels surrendered or retreated. Admiral Harrier's flagship established position alongside the captured Inexorable. In the aftermath, Chen learned how Earth had prepared for potential threats following first contact with the Vulpexi. Military intelligence had suspected the aliens' true intentions from the beginning, allowing the mercenary program to proceed while secretly developing countermeasures. We've been monitoring your squad since deployment, Admiral Harrier explained during the debriefing. When your resistance activities began, we accelerated our timetable. As news of the Vulpexi atrocities spread throughout their empire, subject worlds rose in coordinated rebellion. The High Council faced internal collapse as lower castes discovered they were next in line for processing as elite supplies dwindled. On Nexus 7, a new coalition government formed with representatives from the Nexians, the Shadri Remnant, and human advisors. The Vulpexi harvesting facilities were dismantled, their technology repurposed for healing the planet's damaged ecosystems. 3 weeks after the battle, Chen stood with Vorthal and Kilara on a bluff overlooking a recovering Nexian city. Construction drones salvaged from Vulpexi ships rebuilt structures destroyed during the occupation. The Galactic Assembly has requested Earth's presence at emergency session, Kilara informed her, antennae quivering with excitement. Your species is being offered a formal seat, unprecedented for a civilization with your development timeline. And the Vulpexi? Chen asked. Their empire crumbles daily, Vorthal replied. Without the longevity treatments, their ruling class faces rapid aging. Most colonies have declared independence. The periphery worlds seek diplomatic relations with Earth. Chen watched a group of human engineers working alongside Nexians to adapt Earth agricultural techniques to the alien soil. What had begun as a mercenary deployment had transformed into something none could have predicted: the emergence of humanity onto the galactic stage. You know what truly terrified them? Kilara asked thoughtfully. Not your weapons or tactics, impressive as they were. What then? Your moral flexibility combined with ethical boundaries, the scientist explained. Vulpexi psychology cannot reconcile your willingness to fight with brutal efficiency yet maintain principles you would die to uphold. In their experience, species either conquer without conscience or submit without resistance. You do neither. A communication alert chimed softly. Admiral Harrier requested Chen's presence aboard the Earth flagship. Diplomatic envoys from 7 previously subjugated worlds sought meetings with human representatives. The Vulpexi called us the Earth Menace in their classified reports, Chen noted as she prepared to depart. They meant it as a warning. Perhaps, Vorthal clicked thoughtfully, in time, it will become a promise, not of destruction, but of protection for those who cannot defend themselves. As Chen boarded the shuttle bound for the Earth flagship, she reflected on the journey from hired warriors to galactic defenders. The Vulpexi had sought expendable mercenaries. Instead, they had encountered the most dangerous force in the universe, humans fighting for a cause they believed in. The Earth Menace had arrived on the galactic stage, and everything had changed.